Good morning to you all lovely people. How are you all today? I hope you're well. It's a scotchio already. It's about, I don't know, 8:30, 9 o'clock. The sun is high. You're at a weird angle. Sorry, wobble, bring you round, that's better. Yeah, I'm already a sweaty Betty. It's going to be a scotchio today. It's beautiful. It feels like the height of summer. And where are we? It's about the 20th of May, 21st. Looking at my calendar, I can't quite make it out from here. Yeah, so we are having an ongoing issue with a total absence of rain. So we're all back to hand watering pretty much every single night at the moment, which isn't a huge amount of fun. It is already very, very boring and time consuming, but we do what we have to do, don't we? So the other thing, I've been checking the forecast like a hawk as normal. I've been mainly checking for our nighttime temperatures. I've got a sort of a 2 weeks at a glance forecast. I use the BBC weather on the computer, and so I'm dripping already. Yeah, so for the next 2 weeks, so taking us from now right into the beginning of June, our nighttime temperatures are not going below 10 degrees C. So that's my kind of cue to start bringing all the indoor seedlings from home to the allotment, to go into the cold frame to begin that process of hardening off. To be honest with you, I think it's probably warmer in the garden than it is in the hallway at home, where they've all been sat for the last week or 10 days. Someone was asking me how I get everything to the garden in terms of all my seedlings. Simple as this. It's one, I don't know where I picked this up from. It says M&S, but I don't go to M&S for my food. But the great thing about this, I think, you know, look at things like laundry bags. I know the big laundry bags. The great thing is, can you see in the bottom there? It's perfectly sized for a gravel tray in the bottom, into which I can put anywhere between 8 and 12 pots, depending on the pot size. And then because it's fairly deep, and then there's obviously the handle depth as well, it just means that everything can sit in there and I can pick up the bag without sort of crushing anything. So I do 2 of those bags a day for the next, well, I did 2 yesterday, 2 today. I think I've got in total, there's 8 there, there's 8 more in the flat, 16. So over the next 8 days, I'll be bringing 2 a day down here. It may be that on some days I'll bring a couple in the morning and then a couple more in the evening when I do my watering in the evening. So yes, it is a bit of a faff, and it's exactly what I was saying the other day about why I would prefer to start my squash down here in the garden rather than at home, because it'd be so much less backwards and forwards from home to the garden, bringing them at this time of year. It's always a slightly nerve-wracking time though, because let's face it, we spend months looking after our indoor seedlings. Let's see now, the squash, they were sown sort of 2 months or so ago. So for the last 2 months I've been looking after them, watering them, because I've got so many trays at home. Every day I rotate the trays, all of them through one place, so they're continually moving. So at some point every week they all get the prime position with the light and the warmth. So to have done all that nurturing, to now bring them to the garden where they will be at the mercy of slugs and snails, despite my best efforts. They will also be at the mercy of changes in temperature, which they're not used to. Yeah, it's a nail-biting time, because in theory I could lose the lot one night. So I will be keeping a really close eye on all the forecasts. Excuse me. And if it looks like on any night we're going to go below, sort of, I'll get nervous around the 7-8 degrees mark. Anything less than 7, I will definitely be closing up the cold frame. Now herein lies the other problem with this whole hardening process, as the cold frame fills up with the seedlings from home and I've got other things in there, suddenly all these different plants are having different requirements. Some of them want to be a bit warmer than others, some definitely want to be cooler, some need to be in a bit of a breeze, some of them I'm top watering, some of them I'm bottom watering. So where I've got teeny tiny little seedlings coming up, I top water them because they just haven't got the roots to get down. The more big established plants, they'll get bottom watered so their roots can go and find the water. So suddenly my cold frame is like a family with the fussiest kids possible when it comes to mealtime. It's like I've got on my hands, I've got a kid who's vegan, a kid who's vegetarian, a kid who's a pescatarian, a kid who will only eat cheesy Wotsits, a kid who will only eat sausages, a kid who will only eat pasta if it's shaped like a dinosaur. And I absolutely know that any of you out there who are parents or grandparents will have experienced sometime or other the kid who will only eat pasta if it's a certain shape. No matter how much you try and plead with them that all pasta is the same. Nope, not having it unless it's Thomas the Tank Engine or a dinosaur or whatever. Yes, so it's going to be a bit of a juggling act. Oh, I've just had a cat fly past my face and it's made me itchy. It's going to be a bit of a juggling act of keeping them all happy, all the temperature they want to be. So whenever I'm here in the daytime, some of them will come out, some will stay in. I will probably, we've got this really bright day today, if it looks like it's going to last like this, I will certainly get that debris netting on the top of the cold frame to afford it some shade. But the main thing is, it's so exciting, it is so exciting, that moment when all the indoor plants or starts come down to the garden, because I know that in another 2 weeks' time that means they're going to be going into the soil, and once they're into the soil I can breathe a sigh of relief that will be the garden pretty much done, as it were, done for a few weeks. Anyway, so I've got tons to do. I've got a really long list of jobs to do today. Last night I was tossing and turning in bed and I thought, right, I was thinking about the garden, so I thought just get up and write everything down, everything you can think of, and then you can sort of prioritise it. So that's my thing for today, is I've got a list with my priorities on my neighbours are stimming. And the first thing is to prick out brassicas and some of the herbs. Ideally I'd prefer to do it on a shady day because of the shock. This is the day I've got. So before we go into the garden, a couple of thank yous. Thank you to Stuart from Australia, Western Australia, sorry. Stuart has sent me some Welsh onions. So I think Welsh onions, also known as perennial onions, I'm not sure. I've never grown them before, so I need to give those a bit of a looking up, a bit of research. I'm not sure when to sow. So I'll do my research as I would with anything that's new to me. If they're a perennial, I might think about planting them somewhere near the Taunton Dean, because that's becoming a bit of a perennial bed, or maybe even in the herb bed. So thank you, Stuart. And then, oh, Helen, oh, your card. Beautiful card from Helen. And I just love the little sentiment on the front. Happy thoughts with lovely flowers brighten up our days and hours. It's so true. Helen, thank you so much. There is a reply on its way to you. So, right, any other business? I think that's it. Any absences today? No, we're all present and correct. So, I think without further ado, it's time to go out into that scorching garden and see what fun we can have. I'm so excited because my plants are arriving from the house. Come on. It's so bright today, it's beautiful. Time to get on with pricking things out. Now normally I'd prick out this whole tray, but let me just show you a bit more closely. As you can see, hopefully you can see, some of them are only just germinated, whilst others could probably been pricked out a couple of weeks ago. It's going to give me a bit of an issue because the trays where they're just germinating, I'm gonna leave them, pop them back in the cold frame, and hopefully they'll come to something. The bigger ones I'm going to now pot on, and they're going to probably sit in these little pots for pretty much most of the summer. I always have an issue of where to put them, but I'm going to replicate what I did last year, which is get them potted on, and then the sort of the trough that's now between my two mounds of new potatoes, the space in the bottom of there to put all these lovely little plants in these trays. I give them all a really good washing once I transplant them, just ease them in a bit. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the shade net tunnels over them all, because like I said, transplanting them and then leaving them out in this baking sun, just all be too much of a shock for them. So when I sowed them, they were in a seed sown compost, but now that they're big boys and girls, they can go into just this multi-purpose compost. Happy holidays! You know, people going off on their holidays. Why would you go anywhere when you can stay in your garden where it's gorgeous? So, see, there's quite a nice little bit of root down there. All I'm going to do with these is just gently tease them apart. Keep as much of each other's root ball as possible. Get them in that pot. Bit of a firm down. There we go. With some of them, probably I could have done with doing it a couple of weeks ago. This one, for instance, where there's only one come up in each cell, actually I could probably leave it in that because it's forming its own nice little plug in there, but I won't. I will get it potted up, and then once all the others catch up, they'll all be potted up too. We're getting to that time of year where we're running out of pots, aren't we? Oh dear, but hopefully by the time I come to pop those up, there's another aeroplane. Oh my goodness. Yeah, by the time I come to pot all these up, other things should have come out of pots, such as, beans, for example. That would be great. I don't have anything fancy as equipment, but a teaspoon suffices perfectly well. So again, just gently tease those apart. In it goes. I think I've been a bit skimpy on the compost in the pot, so I'll probably top it up a little bit. I'll see how I get on. Getting a bit low on compost. So that one has got a teeny baby in and two that need pricking on. How is that going to be? Fun and games. So many folk down here today, it's lovely. It's quite surprising for a weekday, but I think people relish when they've got annual leave, getting to have time in their gardens, especially when it's such a beautiful day. Aren't we lucky? Aren't we the lucky ones? So these ones that I'm doing at the moment, sorry I should have said, this is Cavolo Nero. And of all my, I've accidentally pulled that one out. So, see that little one, tiny on the edge? I'm going to replant that. Excuse me a second. Bye, Sheena!
Thanks, Vivi. If you could tickle them with some water this afternoon.
I will give him a lovely drink later. Bye. We're getting to that time of year as well where folk are going away. Some on watering duty. Love it. Love it. It's always nice to help our friends, isn't it? Anyway, sorry, yes, as I was saying, this is the Cavallo Nero, and I think of all the brassicas, if I was only ever allowed to have one more brassica for the rest of my life, or plant one more, it would be the Cavallo Nero. You've seen it in my previous videos. I harvest and harvest and harvest and harvest from it. It's an absolutely beautiful cut and come again plant. It gets so tall, and literally all I do is I harvest a couple of leaves from each plant when I'm harvesting, enjoy scoffing those over the course of the week, come back the following weekend, do the same again. It just keeps giving and giving. And of course, actually I want 2 brassicas in my list of if I can only ever have 2. I would then also include purple sprouting broccoli, because once the Cavallo Nero is pretty much over, that's when the purple sprouting broccoli is just coming in. And again, you'll have seen from the videos this year, that's another one, it just keeps giving and giving and giving and giving. So, Cavallo Nero now, I'll prick out the purple sprouting next, some of the sprouts are ready to prick out, etc, etc. I will get on with that and then join you back here where we'll have a look at some of the little herb seedlings and how they're doing. Well, it may not look much, it may not look like it, but believe it or not, that's about 2.5 hours worth of work. Oh my goodness. So, everything that's big enough to be pricked out has been. Hello, buddy. Yes. Everything that's big enough to be pricked out has been. Some of them came out a couple at a time, and a few of them have gone back into the cells and back into the cold frame. But now, these have all had a really good soak, and I'm about to nick this shade netting tunnel from what's in there, rocking core, and come and put it over these brassicas, and then when the next lot are ready to prick out, I can do the same between the rows of the main crop spuds there. But I've run out of trays. I'm using some really pretty rubbishy trays, and I'm getting very low on pots. It's always the same at this time of year, isn't it? And it's funny doing a job like this. It is quite time consuming, it is quite tedious, and I do sit there and think, oh come on, I want to do something else now. But whenever I get a bit meh about doing a job, I just remind myself that I'm doing it for food for a whole year. Yeah. So all these beds that are seeded, and some of them will become empty in the autumn. In fact, it's the ones over here that will become empty in the late summer. All of the alliums, as they all come out, they will be replaced by brassicas, which at the moment are just teeny tiny little plantlets. Come the winter, they'll be big and I'll be scoffing them. Fab. Now it's time to start working on the herbs. So it's time to start pricking out these lovely little herbs. But I thought just before I do, I want to show how gorgeous they are and all their different foliage. So beautiful, like proper miniature versions of their adult selves. So in this tray I've got, this is dill, a couple of rows of coriander, And in the end here, this is supposed to be lemon basil. And finally, I've got one there and one there. And then a couple in the end here. So you can see it has been really odd germination, hasn't it? Because, you know, they're all in the same compost, they're getting the same sort of conditions, watering, what have you. One thing I have noticed in potting up those brassicas today, some of the cells were really, really dry and other cells were still really quite damp. So, excuse me, I don't know if the dryness has been an issue, but that might also explain why over here, a couple of cells with a few chamomile in. Yay, I'm so pleased. And then this one, I don't know if this is going to pick up. Can you see? There's a whole load more are just germinating. Nothing there, nothing there, nothing in the third row. And then these last two rows were yarrow. Now, absolutely no show. So, obviously it's a bit of a disappointment, but it's not the end of the world, and every year there's something that fails. So this year it's yarrow and bird has goods, but that doesn't mean I won't have to try again in another year. I most certainly will. And obviously these herbs, they're not my main meals, they're a nice addition. So again, it's not the end of the world when the herbs don't work. And actually, you know, like I was just saying about how tedious it's been to pick out all the brassicas, I've actually just looked at my watch. I was doing that for 3 hours. Ridiculous. And as much as I like to remind myself when I'm doing something like that, that it's for my food for the whole year, and that's great, what would be nice now about doing the herbs is it's a reminder that actually sometimes it's just nice to be doing a quiet job in the garden for no reason other than the sheer bliss of it and the beauty of the plants later on. It doesn't always have to be all about the food. Right then, time to get these lovely little plants pricked out and potted on. Whew, today's getting hotter by the second. It's quite incredible. And I keep having to remind myself about watering at the end of each day, where I'd put the brassicas in the bottom of that sort of trench of the potatoes. I raked it a little bit just to make it even or flat in the bottom, and actually even just an inch or so down there is good moisture, which is fantastic. Kind of amazing really with the weather we've been having, but it just goes to show that even if it looks bone dry on the surface, stick your finger in, stick a trowel in, stick something in just to see if there is moisture down there to save unnecessary watering. Obviously things like the little seed beds where they're right in the top of the soil, they do need watering. And at the moment I'm on watering duty for my plot and 3 other plots where folk are away. I reckon it's going to take me at least 2 hours to do everyone's watering and my own. Anyway, back to the herbs to prick out. So I'm really delighted, especially about the chamomile, because I've never grown it from seed before. I've never tried. So I'm delighted to have a few little plants. I've run out of pots. Well, I've got a few, but I need them for other things. So I'm just going to prick them out into another sort of cell tray. For the compost for in here, I've actually mixed up a bit of my seed sown compost and my multi-purpose compost. I don't want it to be too rich for the herbs. And also, oh my goody goodness, cat's fighting. Yeah, I was wondering about putting them into more seeding compost, but like I said a second ago, I'm a bit worried about how that's been drying. So it's a bit of a mix, half and half, and hopefully there should be better water retention. So this one's on its own, so I'm just going to grab as much of it as I can. Let's get you a nice little hole in there. It's always so exciting, isn't it, to try something for the first time and it work. Well, I say that now. Let's hope they survive the pricking out. Yeah, so by the same token as the yarrow not working, and, you know, like I was saying, it's obviously a little bit of a disappointment. I can't be too disappointed because other things have worked this year. Namely, I don't know if you can see if they're in shot from there, but the sweet peas, it seems crazy now to think that how much I've struggled over the years to produce sweet peas. And now I've got them all over. It's fantastic. Right, this is going to be a little bit more tricky. Looks like there are 3 in there. Just very, very gently, tease them apart. Oh, I've broken it off. Oh, fiddlesticks. I'm wondering... Can I tease? Do you know what? I don't think I can tease them apart. So I'm just going to plant these 2 together because, well, they'll be happy enough together. And then at some later date, perhaps I can get in there and divide them. But in trying to tease them apart, I've just pulled that one off, so I'm not risking that with any more. But goodness, this cell has really quite a few in it. I don't want to lose that little label because I'm going to keep this tray where I was just showing where they've just germinated. Oh, this is going to be tricky too. What I might have to do is tease them apart a bit, but then have them in maybe clumps of 2 or 3. Can I get in there? Yeah. I think you lot are going to have to stay as one clump. That's alright. It's, like I said, I can either try and do some sort of division later on, but at least just being 2 or 3, they've got a little bit more room in this tray now to develop. Oh, those 2 I might just be able to get in between. So excited to have my own chamomile. I don't expect a huge amount from them for this year, but as you saw, the single chamomile plant that I did have in the herb garden, that overwintered perfectly well and has come back and is getting nice and big again this year. Obviously I then bought the two little ones from the garden centre, so that's now 3 chamomile plants. I could probably do with about 20 for my tea requirements, but 2 or 3 will have to suffice for now. Were you one on your own? Yes. Okay, little chamomiles. Grow, my pretties, grow. So I'll give them all a really good soak and let them recover from the shock of being woman handled by me, and crack into the next tray. I think with this tray what I'll do, because this is the one that has, can you see from there, yeah, the non-existent yarrow, and then this one cell where the chamomile has started to germinate. I'm going to try and keep that cell of chamomile, empty the rest, and use that as more space for pricking out some dill and some coriander. I'm not going to touch the lemon basil for now because it's literally just germinating, so that can stay as it is. But yes, by the end of today I should have 3 trays full of herbs getting beautifully away. A few more coming up. Who knows, it might even be 4 trays at this rate, we'll see. Isn't it a wonderful time of year? goodness me. That was hot today. It's just starting to cloud over a little bit now, which is great because I need to do all the watering, so a little bit of cloud to shade me and cool me as I water, but also hopefully that water's not going to evaporate straight away. That's been amazingly hot today. I knew we were going to have a sunny day. I didn't know it's going to be that hot. And actually, and bear this in mind for yourselves too, I love the warm weather. I love the sunshine, but it does take me a little bit getting used to. And it's very different if you're just sitting in the shade of a parasol, sipping on a nice long cold drink. There's a big difference between that and being out in the sun in the garden. And I feel a little bit like I might have got a bit of a headache today. So, well, I'm going to nip it in the bud. I'm going to nip it in the bud by stopping now. So, gallons and gallons of water today. My list, oh my goodness, there's still so much on it. So I can do one of two things. I can either run around like a headless chicken panicking, or I can take my list home with me now, look at it again, prioritise again, and then just look at the rest of this week and see where I might be able to squeeze in a little bit of extra garden time. I'll be coming down most evenings to water anyway, so maybe if I think to myself, right, come an hour earlier than watering time, do an hour water. If I do that for the next 2 weeks or so, might need a little bit more than that, but there we go. Yes. It's such a bonkers time of year, isn't it? I mean, just that pricking out today has taken hours. It's one job on the list and you think, oh, it's a little job, isn't it? Got the dirty hands to show for it. You think, yeah, it's just a little job, just pricking out, isn't it? And the next thing you know, 3 hours have flown by. So, it's just, I don't know what to say. It's just crazy. It's just crazy, bonkers, busy all the time at the moment. But I know that in about 2 weeks' time, virtually all of the seeding will have been done. All the plants will have been brought from home down here. Some of them will have started to go out. So we'll get into a much kind of calmer phase in the garden where we're coming to do things like watering, a bit of weeding, a bit of grass trimming every now and again, a bit of tying in of our tomatoes, nipping out side shoots, that sort of thing. So essentially, once we get into June and July are mostly pretty relaxed months in the garden. Gets a bit busy again in August, harvesting, putting the brassicas in, etc, etc, but I'm just really at the moment looking forward to that second week in June when just take a moment. I'm not going to wait till June to take a moment. I'm going to go and take a moment outside the shed right now after I said goodbye to you. I'm going to have my moment, enjoy the slightly cooler air. I'm in shade by this time of day by the shed too. Have my moment, then do all my watering, and then have another moment. So, I will see you all again really soon, I hope. But in the meantime, I hope you are all getting to have your moments too. Just breathing and being. Until I see you all again, it is cheerio for now, and please take care of yourselves and go slowly if it gets hot suddenly. See you soon.